A black screen is fitting, because today we're gonna talk about the top 5 worst tanks in World of Tanks Blitz. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, tankers of Blitz Universe, welcome back to the channel. We have the top 5 worst tanks in World of Tanks Blitz. And at number 5 is the tier 8 American autoloader, the T69. First, a bit of a scene to set. How did I pick these top 5 worst tanks? These are not the tanks that are in my garage that I can't play or have a really bad win rate in. I went to a website, blitzstars.com, went into Tank Compare and decided to take a look at all the tanks in tier 5 up to tier 10 and select the 5 with the worst win rates over the last 90 days. And kind of surprisingly, this one, the T69, was at number 5 at below 50% win rate. I think it was, when I watched it, 49.91. And why is it a tank that people have problems doing well in? Well, first of all, it's a medium tank, so the armor is not really reliable. Second of all, it is an American tank, so the gun is not really reliable. And that's kind of strange because it is an autoloader, which means you have a good burst damage, you have goodish penetration values, you have AP for standard ammo, and I think you pack heat actually on this tank for premium ammo, which is really good, gives you solid penetration numbers. You even have an HE shell on this autoloader, which you don't get on a lot of autoloaders on the game. But in some ways this tank is a bit underwhelming. It's not your average medium tank. It's a bit chubby, as you can see. And I can understand why people think this is a poo-poo tank, why people struggle to do really well in it. It is a tank that has been described by the Birdmaster as T69. No, thank you. I think Bushka has it on his channel as, well, one of the worst tanks I've ever driven on World of Tanks Blitz. Even if it is an autoloader, even if it is a tank with quite good gun depression for the fact that it is actually an autoloader. But maybe the fact that it is a tier 8 autoloading medium tank makes it hard to compete. You have to struggle with the VK101P, with the IS5s of this world, with the Defender, etc. And then this tank just struggles. It is in such a hard playing field, basically. There are such a load of good tanks at tiers 7 and 8 where you are playing, and then I'm not even talking about the tier 9s with the waffles and the big guns where you really will feel the struggle. And this one, the T26 E4, look at that, that's AP. And I'm facing downwards on that angled front plate. I should be able to go through, but I'm not able to go through. And then you have a T6 Dracula to worry about. And you can bounce the occasional shot in the tank. But the size, it is an American tank, so that's paper anyway. And yes, you can do well in it. There will be a full review coming up. Well, this one is at number 5 of top 5 worst tanks in World of Tanks Blitz. Number 4. Quite surprising maybe. Or maybe not. It's the Tiger II. And there's a story to this one, because this tank has a really good gun. It has good armor, it has solid mobility, it is big, and it sits around 49.80 in terms of win rate, just below the T69. Hence it is at place 4 in the top 5 of worst tanks in Blitz at the moment. And I can understand why people struggle with the tank, because it has good armor, but it's not as easy to drive it around like, say, the Tiger P. And this tank is in the line towards the E100. And people who start playing Blitz 9 out of 10 times want to get the E100. This tank does not have the 400 alpha shot that a lot of the tank destroyers or a lot of the heavy tanks at this tier get. You will face, again, the IS3 Defenders of this world. You will face an IS5, which has really troll armor. And even this one, the AMX AC48, has got troll armor. You will have some problems penetrating with the RNG and stuff. You can bounce shots as well. There we go. If you manipulate the armor correctly. And the gun, it is really, really good. but it's not a 400 alpha gun, so it is less forgiving. And people want to get the E100, so the average win rate gets dropped because of a lot of new players and less skilled players and less experienced players playing this tank. And you can see what I'm trying to do here. We're going to win this game because I've been I've been trying to keep my Borsig alive, and then he derps a shot into the tracks of the IS-5. Well, the IS-5 is a Muppet as well, and I wiggle, 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 and I think I get penetrated here, not quite sure. Oh, I bounced one, thank you very much. But it's getting a bit tricky here because I'm losing hit points, and Reds have still got 5 tanks left, and I have only a paper Borsig behind me, and then there's an ISU-152. Oh god, that hurt! Oh, I forgot to mention that one, the ISU-152 against you. I'm at 249, I know, I'm a one-shot to a lot of tanks on the field. Oh, thank you very much for clearing that tank. Hello, there we go. We get a lowish roll, the T-3485 Rudy, and now a bit of experience comes into the game as well, because I can not shoot this tank. I actually can. There we go, and he misses. Thank you very much. And I had noticed there was an IS moving in, so I go forward, I turn my turret. Hello IS, are you going to pop? Oh yes, thank you. Winning this game because of that shot on the IS and this bounce from the T-3485 Rudy. But a new player would have lost this game. I'm not boasting on my own performance here because it is pretty shitty, I think. But a new player would have lost this game because I have the situational awareness and new players just don't. They don't know the maps, they don't know the angles, they don't know how to manipulate the armor of the Tiger II. So let's move on and see what is at spot number 3 of the top 5 worst tanks in World of Tanks Blitz. And this one came as a bit of a surprise to me. It's the JAGDPANTHER, the tier 7 German tank destroyer, which has got some armor. I mean, the Amul doesn't really have a lot of armor, it has been buffed, but still, the JAGDPANTHER has more armor. But if you shoot it on the sides, those sides are angled, so they have more effective armor, but it's still not a really brilliant armor plate. And the front plate, it is angled backwards, but you have to get it into a position where you can set up this tank in an ambush. It has a brilliant gun, the Top Gun. That one does 310 average alpha per shot. You have the same DPM as with the first gun, but that one does only 225 per shot. And that 225 per shot means that you have to expose your tank a lot more to the enemy than you would want to. And if you are situationally aware, and if you know the maps, the lines of sight, and know how to use the gun constraints left and right, and how to play a fixed gun tank destroyer, then you can do well in the tank. But I think this one has the same problem as the Tiger II. People want to get the JAGDPANTHER E100. And if you want to get the JAGDPANTHER E100, then you have to go through this tank. And turretless tank destroyers by default are harder to play than a tank with a turret, because you have to either sit at the back and wait it out and then support your team, and because you know where tanks are driving, etc. Or you have to go to a front line and know how to position yourself so you don't get shot, and you have to know how in which lines of sight you will be, and which moments and lines and spots you will be able to shoot the enemy. And that can only come from experience, and I mean, new players don't have the experience, so yeah. The JAGDPANTHER sits at spot number 3, and we're going to win this game because I managed to shoot the Ferdinand through the lower plate, turning him into a 2-shot kill for the T-54 lightweight. And let's then move onwards and upwards. We've had number 5, we've had number 4, we've had number 3. Which tank will be in spot number 2 for the top 5 worst tanks in World of Tanks Blitz at this moment? And it's again a tank destroyer. It is again tier 4. And as you can see, it is a French tank, the AMX AC-46. What a turd. This tank is about as big as the JAGDPANTHER. It has the same type of sights, open, flat, HEable by a few tanks. But look at the design of the whole thing. What did the French do? Did they just chop the head off a hammerhead shark and then kind of use that as a model for rangefinder. And they added a cupola on the right side as well, so that one sticks out like the proverbial sore thumb, easy to shoot. This design is not really favorable for a tank, and it is not favorable for a tank in a mobile tank game, because it gives you a lot of weak spots to shoot if you are a red tank. And the Nasson OV, that tank is completely made out of weak spots. As you can see, I'm farming him, shooting HE, killing him in 3 shots. But my team is dropping like flies around me, and I can clear another tank here, the Dracula, which is all well and good. But you also face KV2s at this tier, and a KV2 doesn't even really have to aim at me to just splash me for about 300, and that's about the same alpha I can do with the tank. And that's really annoying. It's really annoying to face a tank which has an awful gun, which has god-awful dispersion, bad accuracy, etc., and you are just not able to keep up with him in terms of effective DPM. And in retrospect, I should have played this game far more cautiously, because we're going to lose this one. But look at the end. Only a slither of the turret of the KV2 will be shown, and I managed to shoot him once, but I can't back up far enough. He can just shoot me through the hammerhead with HE, full roll, and clears me. Well, that's underwhelming. That is a poo-poo tank. And that leaves just one tank left in this top 5 of worst tanks in Blitz, and that's the number 1 spot, and that is claimed by the Type T-34. And to be honest, this one had me even more puzzled than the JAGDPANTHER, because I was looking at the statistics in Blitz Hangar, and I was thinking, this can't be true. This just can't be true. I loaded up blitzsource.com, and again I thought this can't be true. The way that the statistics were lined out with the 76mm gun, which is the first gun, and then you get a top gun with 57mm of caliber, it has got good DPM on the 57 one. It has god-awful penetration on a 76mm gun, and you do get APCR, but then the penetration isn't that much better, so it takes forever to kill a red tank with that 76mm one, because you just can't penetrate anything. And that's not just at the tiers you're facing here, tiers 5 and 4, but especially on tiers 6, and you will face guns like an SU-100Y, a KV2, a KV1, and that's a Type T-34, by the way, with a 90mm gun. That one has got good DPM. I think it's about 1500, and that's brilliant. And your AP pen, it is really good, about 118, doing it from the top of my head. And if you use APCR, because that 57mm one, that's the same as the T-34, which is, well, more or less a 6-pounder gun, and a 6-pounder gun is a British one, and that one has got good penetration. So it can cut through enemy armor really effectively. But for some reason it didn't seem to work. It may have been the teams, it may have been the tanks you were facing, because you will face scavengers as well, which do 250 damage per shot. And if they miss a shot, they then can go back into cover. And they can safely reload. But you get a 90 alpha damage gun, 57 mils, which means you have to spend a lot of time out in the open trying to shoot red tanks. And you just don't have the time for that. And that makes the Type T-34 a hard tank to play. And maybe there are a lot of new players as well, and maybe it is just me, but yeah, it is mediocre at best. That's what I think, at least. So at the moment, this is one of the worst tanks in World of Tanks Blitz to play. Use free XP, that would be my advice. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. What are the poo-poo tanks you are facing? What are the tanks you really don't want to be playing, but you do because you have to grind them? What are the tanks you would advise to use free XP for? Because you just don't like them, just don't care about them, just think they are poo-poo tanks. My name is Martindogger. I hope you've liked the video I've made here. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll catch you all on the next video. Cheers and happy tanking.